to my new workshop. As some of you guys may know, I just recently moved out of my parents' house and into my very own house where I'm living with my girlfriend, and this is my workshop. Now, my workshop right now is disgusting. It is a mess. It's pretty small in here, and it's not a great setup. Not good at all for building stuff. This is where the magic will happen, people. But I can't be making magic in a dank, dirty, crappy place like this with random styrofoam on the ceiling, but only on half of the ceiling. And by the way, I've got my GoPro in super view mode right now, which makes it look as big as possible, and it still looks small. Most of the reason why it looks so small is because of this humongous built-in workbench, which is kind of nice to have, but it's nasty, old, and it leaves no room for my toolbox. First, I've got to pull out this humongous old workbench. I also want to pull these old fluorescent bulb light fixtures down. Another thing I want to do is paint the walls because they're absolutely nasty. But before I do any of this fun stuff, I've got a lot of cleaning to do. As you can see, I've got tools under this workbench, I've got tools in the workbench, and on the workbench. So, without further ado, let's get to work. This thing is basically a spider mansion. Alright, that's all those bolts cut. Now let's see if we can move this big hunk of thing. Still something holding it though. There we go. Holy shit. I just found the Grand Canyon in my workshop. This thing's so big, I'm gonna have to take the door off to get it out of here. Well, now that that's out of here, I have a ton of extra room in here. I don't even know what to do with all this room. I had my house inspected. The guy came in, he saw all this shifting. I mean, this whole side of this room is shifting that way. But he said it should be fine, just watch it. If it gets any worse, then you've got a problem. But so far, for the year I've owned it, hasn't gotten any worse. So I think what I'm gonna do is just seal up all these cracks. We've even got a plant growing in here. Got this whole room cleaned out. I've got a bucket with some soapy water and a mop, and I'm just going to mop the whole ceiling down because I'm going to be painting it. Yeah, I want to get a fresh coat of paint on this whole ceiling, and I also might as well mop down the walls and the floor too, just to get everything clean and ready for paint. I really do not need a door here at all, so I'm gonna just rip it off. It'll be a lot easier to get bikes in and out of the shop. I don't need this piece here anymore, so. Next up, these lights have got to go. They hang down too low and they don't go with the flow. So, now I see the inner workings. To prevent getting electrocuted, I have the power off. Now we can get that wire out. Don't know what this black felty papery stuff is. Here I've got some mortar mix. This is for fixing the big gaps in the block wall. And then I also have some masonry crack filler. This is for the smaller gaps. And then I've got a high strength concrete mix. This is for fixing the floor, but then I'm gonna go back over this with a floor leveler. Then I also have this Drylock Extreme Bright White basement and masonry waterproofer paint. I'm gonna use this for the walls. It'll give it a nice waterproof finish. Let's mix up some concrete. Now I'm just gonna lightly mist the surface. I'm gonna just dump it. That should be good. Now I'm gonna let this set up a little bit and then I'll top it off with the resurfacer and that'll give it a nice smooth finish. Now I'm gonna mix up some mortar. Now I'm going to clean the excess mortar off with a sponge. Alright, that looks a ton better. So now we just got to do all the other walls. Alright, I've got all the gaps in the walls filled up. Took me about an hour and a half. And now on to the final step before I paint the whole room. I'm going to use this Flow Coat concrete resurfacer to level out the floor. I think that seems like a good consistency. It's not soupy, but it's almost there. It's supposed to level itself out. We'll see. I think I need to smooth it a little bit. The resurfacer stuff went on pretty rough, but I can see that it has already smoothed itself out to a very nice, polished looking finish. It's the next day and all the concrete is dry. It looks amazing. After I put a coat of paint on it, I don't think you'll even be able to tell that anything was put on the floor. All the mortar joints look great, and once these are painted, they're gonna look even better. So that's what I'm gonna do right now. I've got my Kraus & Becker paint sprayer all ready to go. I've got some ceiling paint. I'm gonna start with the ceiling. It starts out pink, but it dries white. There you go, that's the whole ceiling done. Now, onto the walls. For the walls, I'm going to be using this Drylock Extreme. You can even use it with a sprayer. Well, it says on the can that you can spray this stuff, but it is not going through my sprayer. It must be too thick. Alrighty, the lights for the ceiling came in. Let's open these things up. Okay. Here we have the wiring, brackets, and then there's 8 actual LED light strips. House wires, black to black, white to white, and green is ground. Now we should be able to mount the light and plug it in. And now we just plug it in. That was easy. Let's turn it on. Oh my gosh, that was probably the easiest installation ever. Now let's install a second one next to it. You can use this little butt connector, it plugs into the side, and then right like that. Wow, that's awesome. Now we just have to install 2 more brackets and we're good to go. I decided to add a 3rd light to each row, so now we have 6 light strips in here total. It is super bright. Beep beep boop bop, beep beep boop bop. It is the next day. It is so white in here. So what I'm gonna do this morning is apply this Duracoat protective light gray coating, ideal for heavy traffic areas. It has been about a week. Man, this floor paint really took a long time to dry. I actually tried walking on it a little too soon and it wrinkled up there. And it's still a little bit soft right there, but I think for the most part it's dry and I can probably start moving stuff in like my toolbox. But before that, I'm gonna pull this old 70s looking door off and I'm gonna replace it with this much wider door, much more modern looking, and it's got a nice big window which will let more light into the shop. There's the door. Now let's see if we can get the frame off one. So I pulled the bottom of the door frame off, and it turns out that these steel exterior doors are filled with styrofoam. I never knew that. But I've got to cut about 5 inches off of this thing. I made a line, so let's go ahead and cut this door. Well, I got the door in, I got the expanding foam all the way around the outside of the frame. I just have to install some jamb extensions, then the trim, and then we're all done with the door. But inside, here we are. This is a completely transformed space. Before, it looked dark, dank, scary, and I really didn't want to spend any time in here at all. And now it's nice and clean. It basically looks like an operating room, super bright lights, and I am ready to move in my toolbox here. First, I've got to get all this stuff that was on the shelf there back on that shelf. There we go. Now I just got to hook up some water lines and a drain, and I'll have a sink in here. Now I've got a lot of drawers to fill up with tools. These are little brackets that go on the side here to support, so that doesn't happen. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this transformation of my workshop. It took me about a week to complete all of this work. I painted the ceiling, I changed the light fixtures, I had to patch a lot of cracks in the concrete, and then I painted the walls, I patched a lot of cracks in the floor, and then I painted the floor, and then I installed a new door. I might set up a little welding cart here right by the 220 volt outlet. It's really feeling like a workshop now. This is where you guys will see me building things in the upcoming videos. I've got a lot of new content coming, really excited about it, so stay tuned. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this transformation of my workshop. Comment down below with any ideas you guys have to make this workshop even better. I would love to hear it. Subscribe if you haven't already, I would really appreciate it. Like the video if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.